Millionaires do not pay taxes the same way most workers do. And once you understand why, the entire money game starts to look different. Most people earn a paycheck. Taxes come out first, then they live on whatever is left. But the wealthy play a different game. They build wealth through assets, stocks, real estate, businesses. Because the tax system treats assets differently from paychecks, the wealthy can legally reduce how much tax they trigger. Not with offshore accounts, not with illegal evasion, but with a strategy hidden in plain sight. It is called buy, borrow, die. Today, I'm going to break down exactly how it works, why the wealthy use it, and how normal people can start applying the same logic without needing millions of dollars. Let's start with the hard truth. If you work a regular job, your money gets taxed before you even touch it. You earn the income, the government takes its cut, then you get the remainder. That is the paycheck trap. The problem is not that earning income is bad. The problem is that earned income is one of the easiest forms of money to tax. Your employer reports it. Payroll taxes hit it. Income taxes hit it. And before your money even reaches your account, part of it is already gone. But wealthy people try not to build their entire financial life around paychecks. They build it around ownership. They own real estate, they own stocks, they own companies. A paycheck is taxed when you receive it, but an asset can grow for years without creating a tax bill, as long as you do not sell it. This is why some wealthy founders and CEOs care less about salary and more about ownership. Salary gets taxed immediately, ownership can compound quietly. The average person asks, how do I earn more income? The wealthy ask, how do I own more assets? Because assets are where the tax game starts to change. Step one of the strategy is simple: buy assets. Not liabilities, not things that only look expensive, actual assets. Things that can increase in value or produce income over time. Stocks, index funds, real estate, businesses. The magic is what happens after you buy. Let's say you buy an investment for $100,000. Years later, it is worth $200,000. On paper, you are $100,000 richer. But if you have not sold the asset, you generally have not triggered capital gains tax. That growth is called an unrealized gain. It exists, it increases your net worth, but it is not taxed the same way a paycheck is taxed, because the tax usually comes when you sell. Poor people work for cash, middle-class people save cash, wealthy people buy assets that grow while they sleep. Buy appreciating assets, then hold them long enough for time and compounding to do the heavy lifting. Now comes the part most people never learn. If the wealthy have millions tied up in assets, how do they actually spend money? They often do not sell the asset, because selling can trigger taxes. Instead, they borrow against the asset. A wealthy investor can walk into a bank and say, I own this portfolio, or I own this real estate, and the bank may lend them money using those assets as collateral. Loan proceeds are generally not treated like taxable income because debt has to be repaid. So the investor gets access to cash without selling the asset and without triggering the same kind of tax event. Selling can create taxes, borrowing can create cash, and the tax system treats those two things very differently. That is why the rich often prefer borrowing over selling. They keep the asset, they access liquidity, and the asset can continue growing in the background. Imagine you need $100,000. Option 1, you sell $100,000 worth of stock. If that stock has grown a lot, the sale may create a capital gains tax bill. So you get the cash, but you lose part of it to taxes. You also no longer own that piece of the asset. Option 2, you borrow against the stock. Now you may pay interest to the bank. And yes, borrowing has risks. If the asset drops too much, the lender can demand more collateral or force a sale. So this is not free money. But if the asset keeps growing faster than the cost of the loan, they may come out ahead. They get access to cash, they keep ownership, and they avoid selling too early. The rich are not just asking, how do I make money? They are asking, how do I access money without destroying the asset that made me wealthy? That is the real game. Control the asset, control the timing, control when taxes get triggered. Step 3 sounds uncomfortable, but it is a major reason generational wealth grows. Die. In the US, many inherited assets receive what is called a step-up in basis. Imagine someone bought a house years ago for $50,000. By the time they pass away, the house is worth $1 million. That is $950,000 of growth. Normally, if they sold it while alive, that growth could create a large capital gains tax bill. But when the asset is inherited, the heir's tax basis may step up to the value at the time of death. So if the heirs inherit the house at a $1 million basis and sell it near that value, the old lifetime gain may not be taxed as capital gain. The ultimate tax advantage is not just earning more money, it is passing ownership forward without resetting your family back to zero. That is why wealthy families think in decades, not just income this year, not just savings this month, but ownership across generations. Buy assets, borrow carefully, pass ownership forward. That is the framework. You do not need $50 million to learn from this, but you do need to stop thinking like someone who only earns and spends. Start thinking like an owner. Buy assets consistently, index funds, retirement accounts, real estate if it makes sense, a business if you understand the risk. Then avoid selling every time you want cash. Selling should be a decision, not a reaction. Later in life, once you have real assets, you can learn about tools like securities-backed lines of credit, home equity lines of credit, or other forms of asset-backed borrowing. But do not rush into debt just because rich people use it. Debt can build wealth when it is attached to productive assets. Debt can destroy wealth when it is attached to lifestyle inflation. Do not copy the billionaire lifestyle, copy the billionaire structure. Own assets, protect assets, use taxes and debt carefully. Always speak with a qualified tax professional before making tax or borrowing decisions. This video is education, not personal tax advice. If this changed how you think about taxes, ownership, and wealth, hit subscribe. I also created a free asset tax strategy guide. It breaks down the basics of buying assets, holding them longer, avoiding unnecessary taxable events, and understanding how the wealthy think about taxes. Link is in the description. See you in the next one.